They were ordered to kill each other. But one night, in a frozen forest where death was colder than the wind, a German soldier and a Russian soldier made a choice that no commander, no army, and no war could ever explain. A choice that would echo across decades. This is the night their humanity won. The forest was a cathedral of ice, silent except for the cracking of frozen branches. Snow swallowed sound, light, and hope. Johann Richter moved carefully through the darkness, his rifle heavy, his breath turning to crystals that drifted upward like lost prayers. Winter had aged him every night on the line, stole another year from his youth. A shot shattered the silence. Barg exploded near his face. Johann dropped behind a fallen birch, heart pounding, hands shaking from cold and fear. Silence followed, silence too thick, too Then a voice, faint, almost trembling. "Don't shoot." Johann's breath froze in his chest. He whispered back, "Don't shoot." For a moment the world held its breath. "Cold night," the unseen voice said. "Very cold," Johann answered. Something shifted in that shared misery, two enemies, acknowledging the same suffering. Then a cry of pain, a body fell. Johann peeked over the log and saw a lone figure clutching his ankle, writhing quietly, hopelessly. He stepped out. Moonlight revealed a pale, exhausted face. Not a monster. Not propaganda. Just a man. He approached slowly, rifle lowered but ready. "You need help," Johann whispered. The Roshan nodded, teeth clenched. Johann knelt beside him, offered his flask. "Spasibo." "Thank you," the man muttered. "What's your name?" "Alexei Johann." Two names that had no right to meet in this forest. They sat back to back against a tree to shield the wind. Johann removed torn cloth from his sleeve and wrapped Alexei's bleeding ankle. Alexei watched him with disbelief, the kind that comes from surviving things you were never meant to survive. "I have a daughter," Alexei murmured through the cold. Johann said, "She was a baby when I left." Johann nodded slowly. "My mother is sick." The war had stolen their lives long before it could take their bodies. They talked in soft fragments, broken words, broken hopes, broken men. Not about battles, not about orders, about the pieces of home they still carried in their hearts. The forest around them grew even colder, but between them flickered a fragile warmth. Hours passed, the sky bruised from black to indigo. Dawn approached the most dangerous moment. Soldiers would wake, patrols would move. If either side found them together, they would be executed without hesitation. "We must part," Alexei whispered. Johann nodded, unwilling but understanding. Alexei reached into his coat and pulled out a worn wooden cross. "For you, Johann," stunned, took it in both hands. Johann removed his silver medallion and placed it in Alexei's palm. "For luck." Their eyes locked. Two soldiers, two survivors, two men whose humanity had risen above a war designed to crush it. The forest grew brighter. They stood. They didn't shake hands. It would have made it worse. They didn't embrace. They might never let go. Johann turned left. Alexei turned right. Their footprints drifted apart in the snow, two paths carved by fate itself. They did not look back. They never forgot. 23 years later, a single letter traveled across a divided world and brought two men back to the night that saved them both. Johann returned to Bavaria in 1947, stepping off a train with a suitcase too light and memories too heavy. He walked through familiar streets that no longer felt familiar, toward a mother who waited on a doorstep worn by years of fear. She hugged him tightly, but even she could feel he wasn't the same boy who left. At night, Johann sat alone at a wooden table, the small wooden cross resting in his palm. He would run his thumb over its grooves, feeling the warmth of a moment that had kept him alive literally and spiritually. He found work repairing roofs, mending fences, helping neighbors rebuild. But he spoke little. War had stolen his voice. Thousands of kilometers away, Alexei limped through the ruins of his village. Smoke still curled through broken beams. Windows stared like empty eyes. His home was half destroyed. But from behind a collapsed wall, a small girl emerged. "Papa," her voice collapsed him more than the wound ever had. He fell to his knees and held her as though she were the last breath left in the world. That night he hung the silver medallion by her bed. "Whose is it?" she asked. "A good man's," he said softly. "A very good man's." Years passed. Borders hardened. Europe divided itself with walls, both visible and invisible. But memories slip through cracks where politics cannot follow. In 1965, Johann received a veteran's request, an invitation to write a testimony. He almost ignored it. but something in him stirred. Maybe guilt, maybe hope, maybe the memory of a man he had met only once, but remembered every night. He wrote about the forest, the cold, the fear. He wrote Alexei's name. He wrote, "I pray he survived." The letter traveled through translators and censors. Finally, it arrived in a small Russian town. Alexei opened it slowly, expecting bureaucracy. Instead, he saw his own name. His vision blurred. Erid Johannes Swads, again and again, hands trembling, heart thundering against his ribs. "He's alive," he whispered. Yelena, now grown, placed her hand on his shoulder. "You must write back." He did. His words were firm, clear, overflowing with years that could not be spoken aloud. "I survived. I have a daughter. I remember that night. I remember you." Months later, Johann stood at his kitchen table, reading Alexei's response. His hands shook. He whispered the name he had carried for decades. Alexei. They agreed to meet in Vienna neutral ground, a place where old wounds and new hopes could coexist. On a spring morning, Johann arrived early at a quiet cafe. He sat by the window, clutching the wooden cross. The doorbell chimed. Alexei entered. Older, grayer, limping slightly, but unmistakable. They froze just like in the forest too, men staring across a distance that no longer mattered. Johann stood. Alexei stepped forward. No rifles, no orders. No war, just two men who had saved each other long before they ever met again. They talked for hours. Laughed, cried, shared stories of the families they had fought to return to. Then Alexei placed the medallion on the table. Johann placed the cross beside it. Between them lay the proof that even in humanity's darkest moments, mercy can survive. And when mercy survives, so do we. When they parted that evening, they didn't say goodbye. Goodbye was the final. Alexei put a hand on Johann's shoulder. "Until next time, my friend." Johann nodded. "Until next time." And they walked into a world far gentler than the one they had come from, made gentler. Perhaps because neither man had let the winter win.